The Care Bears, we were doing it for ABC, and we were just doing, say, your 13 episode cycle typically. Suddenly, I think that the client, the American Greetings Corporation, and Nelvana had made a syndication deal. So suddenly, we had to pump out a whole lot of episodes very quickly, right? And there wasn't a whole lot of oversight because the idea was it's syndicated as a large package. We had in-house had to come up with a whole bunch of stuff. So this opened up opportunities for people all over the studio. There were staff writers already in place: Peter Sauter, John DeCline, Denise Fordham, and Dan Smith, and the rest of us were freelancers. It gave people opportunities, and I was only 22, 23, and I was trying to get into the writing department for ages. I always submitting ideas and stuff, and I said, okay, the exec producer, I don't want to write on a show called My Pet Monster. He said, no, we need Care Bears episode. Go there, try that. And I was friends with all the writers, and I would sit down, and John DeCline was really taking charge of the Care Bear syndication stuff. And he mentioned to me that he wanted to do something with Care Bears in space and do a bunch of episodes of that. We actually just sort of sat around talking about all the different things and the all-purpose gizmo and things like that, and the SS Friendship, and we thought it was pretty cute and funny, and I was so excited. And that's what I wanted to work on. And he thought I was perfect for it. He knew I could write good parodies and stuff. I pitched some stories, and Denise Fordham wrote one. I think it was maybe a total of 4 Care Bears in Space episodes, and I wrote 2 of them. Normally, we would never get the chance to do something like this, especially with a property like the Care Bears at that time. When you look at it now, it feels a bit ahead of its time. And this Star Trek parody, of course, we operated at a whole other level that preschoolers don't get. It was really fun, and it was really amazing. And there were other really great Care Bears episodes that came out of that Care Bears game shows, like formats that just didn't happen with Care Bears or any preschool stuff. So it just was the Wild West. And they weren't based on specific episodes. We just had the basic setup, and we decided we would still have, it's not that we went completely, there was no equivalent for Spock or anything. We had Grumpy was the engineer. Everybody was still the Care Bears and their characters and how they matched up with a crew of a starship. Captain Braveheart was perfect. One of my stories was mostly about him, about leadership. We just had to find the right stories that are going to work for kids, and it wouldn't matter whether it's Star Trek or not Star Trek. But it had the little Easter eggs in there. One of the episodes, there were King of the Moon. There was actually some inspiration from a Twilight Zone episode where these 2 astronauts land on this moon trying to repair the ship, and the one guy finds little tiny people, and he gets worshipped as a god, but he becomes an abusive god. Obviously, we couldn't do that. But what we had is Braveheart feeling like the crew can do things without him, and he just gets in the way, goes off and meets up with these moon dots, these little tiny things, and he builds buildings and sandcastles for them so they can get some shade from the heat. And suddenly he feels needed. They say, we need you too. So he finds his role for both and decides to stay with the SS Friendship but still help the moon dot. There was an inspiration there. We had a very good, strong legal department at Nelvana, and they had their hand in everything to make sure that we were safe. Everything was cleared. I think parody law at that time applied. It was the late 80s. I think that was in effect by then. Yeah, I think we were okay on that front. The other episode I did, I worked with Alex Boone, the animation writer, on was Space Bubbles, and that was with Mr. Space Clown. Making it funny, but then and it's always tricky. You have to do it in a Care Bear's voice, so it's not mean funny and all that other stuff. So it's very careful. Even though the show is about kind of jokes at other people's expense, so we still had to be super careful because one of the things about preschool is imitatable behavior. You don't want kids to imitate the villain, and do that to their siblings. So that's why you have things that are not imitatable, like putting somebody inside a giant bubble isn't really going to happen. For the most part, Care Bears the studio did it for so long that to do something different and fun with Care Bears was really a welcome situation for everybody. And we knew this was the last we were going to do with Care Bears, and so it was kind of it was a really good time at that point.